Losing a loved one to a random act of violence is unthinkable. Unfortunately, recent events serve to remind us that we are not immune from these types of tragedies. As we know, an active shooter event can occur at any time or any place. During the past several years, there have been active shooter incidents where we shop, where we exercise our free speech, where we learn, and where we work. An active shooter is an individual actively engaged in killing or attempting to kill people in a confined and populated area. In most cases, there is no pattern or method to their selection of victims. Most active shooter situations are unpredictable and evolve quickly. Because most incidents are over within minutes, we must be prepared to deal with the situation until law enforcement personnel arrive. And preparedness and awareness are the keys to helping protect our employees, our customers, and ourselves. If you suspect a potential active shooter situation, you must quickly determine the most reasonable way to protect your own life. If there is an accessible escape path, attempt to evacuate the premises. Always have an escape route and plan in mind, even if you are just visiting. And make sure to leave your belongings behind and keep your hands visible. If evacuation is not possible, you should find a place to hide where the active shooter is less likely to find you. Block entry to your hiding place and lock the doors. Use heavy items to barricade yourself if possible. And remember to remain quiet and silence your cell phone or pager. As a last resort, and only when your life is in imminent danger, you should attempt to incapacitate the shooter by acting with physical aggression and throwing items at the active shooter. And call 911 when it is safe to do so. If you are a manager or uniformed official, employees and customers are likely to follow your lead. So, it's essential that you remain calm and take immediate action. The key is to be aware of your environment and any possible dangers. However, if you do need to respond, remember, try to evacuate. If you cannot evacuate, then hide. As a last resort, take action. The primary goal of law enforcement is to eliminate the threat and stop the active shooter as soon as possible. As the first responder's primary responsibility is to eliminate the threat, They will not be able to stop to help injured persons until the environment is safe. Officers may arrive in teams with tactical equipment, such as vests, helmets, and rifles. Officers will need to take command of the situation. Expect to experience officers shouting orders and even pushing individuals to the ground for their safety. When law enforcement officials arrive, it is important that you remain calm and follow instructions. Put down any items and immediately raise your hands while spreading your fingers. Avoid making any sudden movements, and keep your hands visible at all times. Do not ask officers for help while you are being evacuated from the scene. Rescue personnel will be in a safe area to provide assistance. After you reach a safe location or assembly point, you'll be asked to cooperate by providing information to investigators. Knowing what to expect will help you assist law enforcement officials as they work to stop an active shooter and eliminate the threat. A lack of preparedness and responding effectively to an active shooter can have disastrous consequences. For example, shooting occurred in one room of a warehouse. The police investigation found that there was only one way in and out. Because of a lack of a secondary evacuation route, the employees in that room were cornered by the active shooter. Developing an emergency action plan to address this could have helped prevent additional casualties in this case. An emergency action plan addresses critical policies and procedures for reporting emergencies and evacuation of the premises. In addition, the emergency action plan specifies responsibilities and key contact information. And the emergency action plan should include an emergency notification system. In the event that evacuation is necessary, facilities should have at least 2 evacuation routes that are conspicuous and well marked. After the emergency action plan is in place, staff should be trained in responding to active shooter situations, including the use of exercises that involve local law enforcement. With an effective emergency action plan and training, staff will be better prepared to respond to an active shooter incident and other emergencies. Current or former employees typically do not become violent unexpectedly. Instead, they display indicators of potentially violent behavior over time. For example, days before the office shooting at a software company, the shooter angrily confronted management over personal financial issues. One member of payroll told her family that his behavior frightened her. A few days later, the shooter then asked 2 of his coworkers to sign his will. The shooter at the warehouse incident was fired 6 months earlier for poor performance. It was reported that he showed up late or missed entire days and was argumentative. Explosive outbursts of anger, talk of financial problems, and repeated violations of company policies are just some indicators of potentially violent behavior. In order to help prevent potential active shooter incidents, we must alert a supervisor or other official if we believe an employee or coworker exhibits potentially violent behavior. And finally, fostering a respectful workplace is one of the best measures for preventing an active shooter incident.